Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the witnesses today. Firstly, I'd just like to start off by saying, to go back to, I think was your point there, Paul, how projects change, and they can change dramatically over when they start planning to the end. And I think that's actually part of the problem. I know it's good to have that community engagement, but what happens is, even with unsuccessful projects, they're putting forward something that the community really doesn't accept. And if that doesn't go forward, it actually sets back the other good projects in an area. And I can think of like a really poor project in Galway at the moment, and compare that then to the Galway Wind Park, for instance, and how much it actually did get the support. So I wonder, do we need to look at best practice from the outset, and not to put forward a proposal that's likely to not get the support, because it doesn't always change over time, and then negativity is set in at a very early point. Secondly, just to talk there about, I don't know if you've touched on it, I don't think so, about the manufacturing and the maintenance side, and if there are opportunities for Ireland there in relation to that part. Because we're talking about energy and exporting energy, excess energy, but actually perhaps there's an opportunity for Ireland as well to get involved, even though we are we are coming to it later than some of the other countries, such as Germany. So you might outline what opportunities might exist. And a small point there in relation to the NPWS, if you could explain briefly for people why it is that we need to have more investment in NPWS and how it does impact on planning for your industry. And lastly then, in relation to the West and the Northwest, quite apart from the grid, what other kind of infrastructure is required in order to get us from being bottom of the heap to being more advanced, because that is likely to, again, get communities on board when they see that there is investment in their area, and that other types of infrastructural investment go hand in hand with the investment in the energy itself.
No problem. I might take the first cut at it, and then Justin, if you want to come in after that. Last year, we published a report called Harnessing Our Potential, which looked at the investment opportunities for offshore renewable energy. And what that found is that in terms of ports, we need, there's a commercial opportunity there for port infrastructure off the west and the east coast, which can help become a supply base and create an indigenous supply chain to support the offshore industry in Ireland. It's certainly something that's worth looking into. We believe that you could have a commercial opportunity for a staging port, which would be worth about €70 million. There would be a commercial opportunity for an O&M operations and maintenance port in the region of €350 million. Just to put some high-level figures, and this report was based actually on the Climate Action Plan target of 3.5 gigawatts rather than the increased target of 5 gigawatts. We're looking at, in order to get to between here and 2030, an investment in offshore in the region of about €18 billion. Looking forward to post-2030 potential, we believe that there's an additional €42 billion there on the table, and it's all about how much of that opportunity can Irish companies tap into and harness. So that's something that we're very much minded to, and we've a very active supply chain working group looking at those opportunities. Just in terms of one of the final comments as well, which was on the west and northwest, just to bring it back to the grid infrastructure, one of EirGrid's current options as part of their consultation is looking at the savings that you can make in terms of grid infrastructure requirements if you can move some large energy users from the Dublin region to other parts of the country, and they're looking at the west and the northwest as options there. Delivering that will require public policy support in order to achieve that transition, but also infrastructure development in things like fibre broadband, so things that are very important to the large information-driven industries which are developing around the Dublin region at the moment because of their broadband infrastructure. So that would be absolutely vital if you want to bring investment, not just renewable energy, but also the demand out of Dublin and over towards those other regions. Justin, would you or Paul have any comment on the NPWS or any of the other?
Just to very quickly pick up on, to take the operations and maintenance opportunity, for example, I think it's worth mentioning that there's already a number of people working in operations and maintenance in Ireland at the moment. So one company, for example, that off the top of my head, if we have Enercon, which is a turbine manufacturer from Germany, their Irish national headquarters is in Tralee. They're employing about 150 people across the country, and most of them are turbine technicians who go across the country. So these are jobs in rural Ireland. These are people who are coming back in many cases from other countries, who are engineers, who are technicians, who are working in that capacity. And when we move to offshore, if you're talking about a typical 500 to 600 megawatt offshore wind farm, you would be looking at something in the region of between 80 and 100 operations and maintenance jobs once it's up and running in whatever port or harbour is identified as its support. I think very quickly to take your point on public engagement, I think we do need to be getting out there as early as possible. I also think we need to be constantly trying to find ways to improve. I think it'd be fair to say that we as an industry, the approach and the investment of time and money and resources we put into community and public engagement today is very different to what it would have been, say, 10 years ago. And I think we're getting better and stronger there. I do accept your point as well that it can be confusing if a project changes and a project is amended. And I think there's a communications task for us to be able to explain to people the reason this project changed is because you asked us to change it. It's giving them a sense of empowerment and control over the decisions being made in their area. We've moved this substation because you asked us to. We're constructing this differently because you asked us to. And I think that's a piece of work that we need to do. And then lastly, in terms of the NPWS, I think when we're developing onshore wind farms and when we are in the future developing offshore wind farms, we need to be doing so in a way that we are protecting Ireland's biodiversity and trying to ensure that what we're developing minimises environmental impacts, mitigates them where possible. And I think the earlier we can engage with the NPWS about projects, I think that the better and the stronger, not just for us, but for the projects themselves. And I also think there's things we can do as an industry. I just might take the opportunity to plug that we just launched our All-Ireland Pollinator Plan with the National Biodiversity Centre. So wind farms increasingly take up, a specific geographic location, geographic space. What can we do to build them, operate them, maintain them and manage them in a way that enhances Ireland's biodiversity? And there's lots of really interesting, exciting projects that individual wind farms have doing that around the country.